All right, disruptors, we have a very special guest, Sam McCabe. He is the director for Loyola University in New Orleans. He's in charge of their Center for Entrepreneurship and Community Development. Now, Sam, you and I have a few things in common. You started your career at PJ's Coffee, a
Yes, I did.
franchise. I started my career out of college at a franchise at Applebee's. So there we go. So we got two franchise backgrounds. While I was in high school, I went to through Junior Achievement Program as a student, and you helped run a program for Junior Achievement leading up to where you are today. All right.
That's right.
So before we go any further, we'll unpack all that because all this ties back to that guitar in the back of your wall over there. And we're gonna unpack all this and talk about what you do today and how you help people get into entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
First of all, you are in New Orleans, obviously, Loyola University in New Orleans.
that's right.
What is your This is a topic us New Orleanians talk about incessantly. We start talking about it at breakfast, talking about what's for dinner.
That's
What's your
right.
favorite place to take somebody to close the deal?
Lately, it has been Urban South Brewery. Like, if I'm meeting with somebody trying to work with some students or find some new mentors, I grab a Friday afternoon. They have a great lunchtime happy hour deal, have a couple of beers and a burger, and it's a great environment over there. Plus, it's on my way home from campus, going back to the West Bank. It hits all the boxes for me.
I love it. All right. Who or what are you grateful for that help you get you where you are along your journey?
My wife, Cherie, is who I met when I was a student here, undergrad at Loyola. She supports me in ways that I could never imagine.
Mhm.
She's the best. And
Absolutely.
it allows me to continue to support our students and our
Yes.
community here at Loyola as best as I can.
Mhm.
And then, my kids too, obviously. And then just a couple of my colleagues here at Loyola. We're a small liberal arts school. We're a tight knit team that all take care of each other.
Mhm.
And we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do at the center
Mhm.
without the help of the whole College of Business and beyond here at Loyola. So,
All right. So you got a great program. And before we dive into the program,
sure.
obviously students are coming to the program to learn some things about, okay, obviously they've got somebody planted a seed with them to become an entrepreneur and they're going
Mhm,
into that specific program.
mhm.
What are some of common mistakes you see that businesses, new entrepreneurs make or could avoid making
Yeah.
had they gone through a program like yours?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, number one for me is always who's on your team, right?
Mhm.
I come from the music industry initially, and so we always used to say, who's on the bus, right? Who's on the tour
Mhm.
bus?
Mhm.
And having that right team set up to be able to help you succeed is just number one in my book, right? You can't do everything on your own. Whether you come up with some great idea or you're starting a new franchise in some business, whatever it is that you're doing, you don't have all the knowledge. You don't have all the skills. And having people that work well with you and know how to do the things that you can't do is the biggest piece, in my opinion, of having something successful,
Mhm.
right? We all want to be a jack of all trades. We all want to be able to say we can do everything. But and you can initially, sure, right? So many of these ideas are somebody coming up with an idea, starting an LLC, and then starting to work on it themselves.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, the best way to actually be able to succeed is having that right team and those right people that are going to be able to support you in the ways that you did, right?
Mhm. All right. What's another key factor, or maybe it's a mistake somebody makes they don't do when they're considering this? I mean, people get out ahead of themselves
Yeah.
many times when they're going into entrepreneurship, not realizing exactly what they're getting into.
Right. For me, I really think like having empathy and understanding of who your customer
Hmm.
is and what you're do what and who you're doing this for,
Hmm.
right? Is something that people maybe skip over sometimes, or they
Hmm.
don't want to put the focus into it as much as they should. I teach a class to first year students here at Loyola. It's kind of an intro to entrepreneurship, and it's based around the design thinking process of really understanding the problems that you see around you first before trying to find a solution. And the big piece of that is really engaging with potential customers and learning more about the situation that they're in before trying to shoehorn a solution into their life, right?
Hmm.
To really understand what it is that your potential customer actually needs or actually wants
Hmm.
instead of what you think they want. Sometimes those two things are different. Sometimes those two things are the same thing. I've worked with a ton of students and a ton of different community members around here who have come into a program of ours that have had this one specific idea. They do know who their customer is, but after they actually start to do all that research, they say, wow, this is a problem and this is something that these people want solved, but the way that I thought they would want it solved is not something that they're going to want. So, we lean into that empathy idea a lot over here, right? Is having empathy and having the ability to understand exactly what those customers might want is number one, right?
And that comes from leadership, because good leaders always are generally empathetic
Yeah.
leaders. I mean, they understand the pain points a person is going through, and then they find
Yeah,
that solution to solve that pain.
absolutely.
You
Sure.
kind of entered this world because of I'm looking at the guitar sitting behind you.
Yeah.
And if
Yes.
there's any business that's hard as can be, it's the
Oh yeah.
music business. And people
Yeah.
trying to get in, and musicians think as artists, hey, I'm going to go out there and make a record or make my songs and put it out there, and I'm going to be famous. They don't
Mhm.
talk about the business side of it, the
No.
financial side of it, all those variables that are key, and understanding truly how to market themselves. Because the way the music industry is marketed today, it's really the artist doing the marketing to get the attention.
That's right.
And you backed into this. Talk about how you backed into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so in 2010, I moved to New Orleans from St. Louis to come here to go to Loyola as an undergrad. I had gone to a Jesuit high school in St. Louis, and I started playing music when I was 7 or 8. I don't know, like second or third grade. I couldn't tell you at this point. I was always in bands I have a twin brother. I was almost always in a band with him and some other friends here and there from like fifth or sixth grade all the way through college and beyond. What brought us down here really was that culture and the music, and then Loyola too has really great music industry studies and music business degree programs. And my brother wanted to do that program. I really didn't. I ended up being a psychology student and all that. But yeah, once we started really working down here and touring a lot and putting out a lot of records, doing a lot of that stuff, we learned very quickly that you had to operate it as a business. You had to be incredibly thoughtful about what your next steps were to be able to succeed, right? And we succeeded to a point, right? Like it's hard for an indie rock band who is it's just broke as hell to be able to do a whole lot, right? But it was something we felt successful at the time, right? We did some pretty significant regional and national touring. We played some festivals, had a record chart on the CMJ 200 countdown, which was pretty cool. That was all because we were really thoughtful about that team. We were really thoughtful about planning and marketing and who specifically were we making this record for, right? Goes back to what I was talking about earlier. And then we hit a point where it was kind of time to start figuring out what we wanted to do as grown-ups. We graduated a few years beforehand, and we're still pouring coffee and trying to make it work. My wife had our first kid, Teddy. And then around then is kind of when I finished a degree in education from LSU and literally did that whole degree while I was in the back of a van while we were on tour pretty much for 2 years. I tried. I slept on a lot of floors and drank a lot of PBR. But yeah, about that time that my wife and I had our son, I ended up falling into a connection with some folks over at Junior Achievement. And they were looking for somebody to take over some entrepreneurship program they had. Larry Washington over there, the president, took a chance on me and hired me. And I loved that job. I loved working over there. And I learned a lot about entrepreneurship. I learned a lot about our ecosystem here in New Orleans. I met a lot of incredible people. A couple of years later, I wasn't really even looking for a job. And this role for an assistant director at that time for the center here at Loyola came up. And I was just super excited to be able to get the opportunity to come back to Loyola, the place that brought me to New Orleans, and continue to do this type of work for our community here, as well as, New Orleans and beyond. So now, 3 years in, I'm now the director. I run all of our programming from different panel events to a couple of different competitions that we run. I get to work with the entire Loyola community and with alumni and students and faculty and staff. And it's just a blast. I laugh because I never so much as took one business class when I was an undergrad over here. And now somehow I teach in the College of Business and really, really enjoy it.
Well,
Really,
you all
really
took
love it.
on the ultimate thing, going door to door, promoting your band
Yeah.
in while traveling the country in a van. Is this
Pretty much.
grassroots marketing as it gets, and it's as gritty as it gets, and it's as survival as it gets. And
Yeah.
you pick up some amazing skills. Now, in the students, I would imagine if I was in a student in your class, I'm like, man, this guy's cool. I can relate to him, and that's the
I hope.
connection. That's the connection, right?
Right, right. And that's what it does help, right? I've had students ask me how I got into this, and I tell them that story, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's not really running a business." I'm like, "No, it absolutely is. We spent more time on the couch planning and executing different booking and promotional strategies, and how we're going to put out this next record, and when we're going to record these things, and all that." And I mean, it's just as much project management and entrepreneurship as it is playing the actual guitar.
Yeah,
So it was a blast, and I wouldn't have the experiences and the life that I have right now without doing that. I don't necessarily miss sleeping on floors,
I don't
but
blame you. Well, but the experience you've got is amazing. All right, so
yeah,
let's talk about the today. Where we are
sure.
today, and you're in an amazing position, impacting lives. Because there's a lot of people who do think, okay, maybe I do want to go into business.
Mhm.
And talk about the program at Loyola. What is it structured like? Who's coming to it? I guess first of it,
Yeah.
who is it for really? Is it all young people, or is it people mid-career, later in life say, "I kinda would like to go back to school." Who does it appeal to, I guess? Who's the
Yeah, I mean, academically, we have you can get a degree from the College of Business in entrepreneurship. We've got a major and a minor, right?
Mhm,
So that's a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds, a lot of young people who
mhm,
want to learn either the skills to start their own business or how to be innovators within whatever career path they choose, right?
gotcha.
But most of the programming we do, the practical side of things that we like to call over here, is we have our Wolfpack Launch You pitch competition that just wrapped up.
Mhm,
And that is open to anyone in the Loyola community. So that's students, both undergrad and graduate, but also faculty, staff, alumni, and even parents as well. This year's cohort for our teams for that program, which lasts all summer and then ends up in September with a $30,000 pitch competition, right? We
okay,
had a handful of teams or students who had just graduated. We had one student team that is a rising sophomore. He's 19 years old. We
mhm,
also had a couple of parent teams who, they have a kid here at Loyola that they saw an email about this program and were like, "Hey, I'm trying to start this business.
mhm,
I'm part of this as well as some faculty and staff." With that program, the first year we did that program 2 years ago, we had an alumni from the class of 1978
okay,
apply and join the
mhm.
program. So, we've had a really diverse group of people as part of that program. And, that's kind of the biggest touch point that we have across campus, right? That program is about 5 months long. It starts in May and just wrapped up in September. We get to work with a lot of really exciting everything from ideas to companies that are ready to scale.
So your program is not a degree, it's an addition to the degree or complements the
Yeah,
degree?
essentially. Yeah. So the center is within the College of Business here on campus. And we do have those academic major and minors that I teach part of those classes as well. But yeah, the center is open to anyone on campus, off campus that's part of the Loyola community. And we also just serve, I've had folks in my office that are just like that semi-related to somebody on campus that are like, "Hey, somebody sent me your way that you might have some resources that might help me out." New Orleans, our ecosystem here is really growing at a really great pace, and this city is such a great place for entrepreneurs
Mhm.
that having as many of these resource hubs as we can to support the just incredible variety of entrepreneurs we've got around here. That's kind of one of our goals, right? So,
How many
uh,
classes how many you refer to them as cohorts, is
sure.
okay. So how many of those a year do y'all put on? 2 or 3?
Right now, we've only got the bandwidth to do one.
Okay.
We're a pretty small team right now. It's myself and a couple of part-time people. The Wolfpack Wants You, that program specifically starts applications are usually due by the beginning of April. We pare that down to about 20 teams, invite them, do a week-long intensive boot camp here on campus in
Mhm.
May, and then pair them with a mentor from either the alumni network or the ecosystem in
Got it.
general in New Orleans to work across the summer. The top 8 teams get to pitch in September.
And they're going for real dollars. Now who
Yeah,
funds the award for
sure.
the $30,000 or whatever
Sure.
the number is at the time coming up next?
Yeah, it's been 30. Let's see. The first year we did it, the dean kicked in an extra 5 grand. So it was 35K that first year. But the past 2 years it's been $30,000.
Okay.
Most of that funding, actually all of that prize funding is coming from Dr. Bobby Savoy and his wife Lori. Bobby's actually the dean of the College of Business here now,
Okay.
and they're great people. They are really supportive of entrepreneurship and innovation here in New Orleans and beyond, and we're very grateful for all their support.
That's
Um,
awesome.
we do another program as well called the Idea Core MBA Consulting Challenge that
Mhm.
brings in MBA students from around the country, from 10 or 12 different universities. It pairs them with local startups, and then they create a strategy for them for the next 18 months.
So it's like
And there's about
is it like an internship for them for 18 months, or is it actual
Uh,
a job?
no. So they do the MBA teams that work with the companies for 6 weeks virtually, and
Okay.
then they come in during New Orleans Entrepreneur Week in the spring and pitch the strategies.
Got
We have a bunch of prize money. So then the goal is that whoever wins, that prize money goes towards implementing that strategy that these MBA students have put
it.
together for them. So we're working on doing some recruiting for that program right now. That program kind of takes up my whole spring, but yeah.
So the name is important too,
Yeah.
because of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Community. Because I think about, like, I'm in the franchising space, and a
Sure.
big part of when somebody becomes a franchisee is they're plugged into the community of that particular franchise. So
Yeah.
they get to network with everybody. Networking. Talk about that. These folks are meeting their peers from all over the country, for those
Yeah.
coming in. And then, of course, a lot of students are from all over the country. And then, of course, you got the alumni who strong base here in New Orleans and so forth.
Hmm.
You're building a community, an ecosystem, I guess you should where people can tap into each other's resources.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the goals with what we do over here is build an entrepreneurial community here on campus, but then really to connect our campus community to that community here in New Orleans,
Yeah.
right? There's so much available, so many resources and so many opportunities for entrepreneurs of all types here. With that degree, it's to encourage students to either start their own business or to be innovators in whatever career path they choose.
Hmm.
And one of the things we really talk about here is entrepreneurship is really not only about starting a business, but being able to problem solve and execute on those solutions in whatever career path you're in. Whether you're an accountant or starting your own company or somewhere in between, look at what's in front of you, solve that problem, and then hopefully, execute on the solution. Right.
Well, when you all are putting this together for them, including their marketing, the financing, all the aspects of running the business as well, is it focused on
Yeah,
solving the
absolutely.
problem and come up with the solution for that?
Yeah, we hit as much of it as we can.
Gotcha.
For launch like I said, we've got that week-long boot camp that we spend with these
Mhm.
teams where we kind of tear down their business model and then build it back up. And over the course of the summer, while they're working with us mentors, we meet with them every other week on Zoom to bring them a speaker. This year we had a couple about legal and IP. We had one about marketing. We had one about team building and leadership, and
Yeah.
all of these aspects to make sure that if they do end up getting some funding and want to take this further, they're going to have the background and understanding to succeed and be proud of what they're doing.
I love it. Any other details you want to make sure we cover for the program itself?
We're here, right? I talked to somebody recently and they're like, I didn't even know we had a Loyola in New Orleans. I'm like, yeah, we're smaller. We're uptown. We're right next door to Tulane. But we have a really great group of students and alumni and really awesome resources here on
Yeah,
campus
it's a great
that
university
are,
campus too.
yeah, oh, I appreciate it. This place is really special to me. I moved down here to
Mhm.
go here in 2010. And like I said, I met my wife while I was here, and now I'm stuck in Louisiana forever. But that's not a problem. That's not a bad thing.
I did that to my wife
So,
too.
yeah, no, I mean, what's not to like? But you got the food, you got the music, you got the culture, you got entrepreneurship, you got people who are really trying to make it different. And
I love
you
it.
know, yeah, I love getting to do this, and I love getting to work with these people, and whether they're like I said, whether they're just getting here as a new student or somebody who's an alumni that wants to be involved. We're or anybody in between, right?
Well, before you do the call to action
Yeah.
so people can find you to get in July with the program, because I love what you all do. It's a
Oh,
few
thank you.
programs are in the city that just really do embrace the entrepreneurial spirit in the city. If you had to do something differently, what was that one thing that you would do differently that you would guide people on doing
One thing I would do differently.
from their past that maybe you would
Okay.
have done a little bit differently that you would advise people on today?
You know, I as much as I love where I'm at right now, right? I can't say I wouldn't love to be ha- doing the music industry thing more and being a little more successful in that piece. don't give up on what it is that you're passionate about.
There you go.
I haven't. I'm in a cover band and I still play around a lot. And I love getting to do all that stuff. That has been really tweaking my entrepreneurial wheels in a very different way lately, working with that. But no, stick with what you're passionate about and really lean into what it is that makes your life tick and what makes you excited, right? There were times, I mean, a decade ago where I look back and I'm like, oh man, there was this experience that if I had treated it a little bit more seriously, I could have, maybe that would have ended up a little differently and
Yes.
maybe that record would have done a little better or whatever.
Those things are part of life's journey. And those things formed you to where you are today. Otherwise, you would not be fortunate to be doing what you are
That's
today.
That's exactly right. And I was getting there with that was that like, oh yeah, as much as it is to stick with what you're passionate about and all that, don't be afraid to also like move, like don't stick to regrets like that, right? It's, things keep moving and things happen for a reason and they hopefully will turn out well for you. But it's important to be focused on what it is that it's impactful and matters to you too, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I tell that to people all the time, consulting with them on what
Yeah.
business they should go in. I said, well, for starters, you should at least have a genuine interest in it. 'Cause,
Yes.
I mean, I had my one and only ulcer at the age of 24 in a job
Wow.
that was not right for me. It was great people
Jeez.
around me, but it was the wrong job. And I'm like,
Right.
what? 14 months into the
Right.
job, I've got an ulcer. I'm like, I'm 24 years old. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Oh man.
So that guidance you just provided is very helpful for. So how do people get in touch with you or the school or the program to learn more, to get involved with the program and to plug in?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check out our website. It's startup.loyola.edu. That's the easiest way to find out about the programming that we do and all that. LinkedIn, we're Loyola University, New Orleans Center for Entrepreneurship and Community Development.
Okay.
Most of our stuff gets posted on Instagram as well at startup.loyola. That's kind of the best place to get in touch with the center. I'm on LinkedIn too. It's just Sam McCabe. You can find me. I'm easy.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of the best place. I'm not
Well,
going to give you my Twitter account.
Sam, we will have the links in the show notes for the page we'll create for you and
Great.
this interview. Anybody listening, plug in. It's great. Loyola is a phenomenal school, phenomenal programs, and
Appreciate it.
you're very fortunate to have the job you have.
No, thanks.
Appreciate
Like I said, I love it here. It's a special place to be, and I'm wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So
Thank you,
thank
Sam.
y'all so much.
Appreciate it.
For sure.
And that is a wrap with Sam McCabe. I love the way his journey started. And he and I spoke afterwards about a band that I follow, guys, called Crash Adams. These guys hustle getting their music out. They do it in such a creative way. If you want to see how to get your music out and you need a new way of doing it, check out what these guys do because they get millions upon millions of views doing what they do. And they've built an audience to the point it's in the millions. And when they went back to their hometown in Canada, they had a jazz fest type experience with thousands upon thousands of people waiting for the show. So, folks, the entrepreneur journey, there's no one straight path, and it's never a straight path. And speaking of straight paths, this is not a straight path. Writing a book called Your First Franchise Roadmap. If you're considering franchising and you need a roadmap, you're looking for guidance all the way through your journey as you start investing money and you want to take some of the risk out. Entrepreneurship through franchising is what I advocate for all the time. Get a free copy of Your First Franchise at yourfirstfranchise.com/roadmap, and I'll send you a free copy. Or you can visit Kindle and get a free Amazon and get a free Kindle Unlimited version of this. And the book, if you like to write things down, I do charge for that, but all the profits from that book go to Make-A-Wish. So folks, this is about community, and this is a simple way to support some community and also get some information on how to get started in investing in your first franchise. It's all about entrepreneurship. All right, guys. Now, you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great day.